Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again with Shinsho Yoga. And for this week's video, I would like to talk about child's pose and letting go of the ego. Right? So in my classes, my yoga classes, whenever I am doing new classes for people or something like a beginner's class for people, right, where it's meant for new people who haven't been doing it regularly, I always talk about child's pose always being available to them. Or anyone even new comes to my class and they ask me, well, what are you teaching? I always say, generally my mixed level flow, as I like to call it, it starts gently, it ends gently, but we do build to a more vigorous pace in the center. I say, so at any time during the practice, if it becomes too challenging and you need to rest, drop in a child's pose, take your rest, and when your body is ready, come back into the flow, right? I say that gives me a signal that you're listening to your body and you need a moment, and that's wonderful because I know you're listening to your body. And I say, this isn't Peloton. I'm not going to come tap on you and go, come on, need to keep up. Let's keep up with the flow. That's not yoga. I say, listen to your body, and if you need to rest, drop into child's pose and rest and come back into the flow when we're ready. Sadly, I can say very few people do that, right? And I watch them struggle many times through the posture. I'm not saying all of my students, but many times. I watch them struggle through the postures. I watch them struggle through, especially when they're newer, and not take child's pose, right, as needed. In my own practice, I do it all the time. Right? There's a teacher I go to every now and then. I've talked about a Jivamukti teacher, a local studio by me. And I used to work with him when I worked at another studio. And Jivamukti is not necessarily my style. It's a very fast pace like this. But I do it just because I know the teacher and it's a challenge and I know what to expect. And he's a decent teacher. And I do as a challenge is can I let go of my ego in this process and not force myself to... And when I'm in that class and it's too much and I'm like, that's it, boom, child's pose. And I rest. I don't worry about what anyone around me thinks because I don't care, and that's not why we're at yoga. Right? I'm here to listen to my body. My practice is my practice that I'm in at that moment. Everyone else's practice is their own practice. It is a group class, but it is not a group think. Right? It's not where it's a group this is not a spin class where we're keeping up with each other. Yes, you move with the class. Yes, we do this as a class. We don't make up our own postures where if the teacher says, warrior two, we don't start doing handstands because it's like, well, the teacher always talked about, putting your own spin on it or something. That's not a group class. But you have to, part of yoga is listening to your body. And when your body needs to rest, you rest in child's pose. Not only is it a signal to the teacher that you need a rest. I can say many times in the Jivamukti class, the teacher knows who I am. When he would see me drop in a child's pose, he kind of used me as a barometer, and he would go, okay, everybody, child's pose, right? Let's rest. Because he knew that if I was struggling, not that I'm the best at the physical practice of yoga, of the asana, but he knew that if I was resting, that the others probably needed it because they don't listen to their bodies, right? You have to listen to your body. That child's pose is not only telling the teacher you need a moment. Child's pose is a resting pose. Child's pose is a very healthful pose. It's one of, in my opinion, the most important poses in yoga, right? To me, the three most important poses in yoga are child's pose, samastiti, and savasana. That's right. Child's pose, samastiti, savasana, not warrior two, not chaturanga dandasana, not crow, right? Not scorpion, not forearm stands, not handstands, none of that, not headstands, right? Child's pose, samastiti, and savasana, right? Child's pose is about listening to your body and not letting your ego run it. Ego is important. So there's a lot of things in spirituality they say you got to get rid of the ego. I don't agree with that at all. There's nothing in you that you don't need. You are not given things that you don't need. You just don't let it control you. You just don't let it run you. Like everything else, it's an important part of you, right? We just don't let it run us. And child's pose is a wonderful practice for that, not letting it run you. So many times I watch people in class and I watch them struggling, and I know that they need a reset. I know they need a rest, and they don't drop into child's pose. And then sometimes I've had people get mad because I keep the class going, right? I've taught places where people have said, "Oh, it's weird. I've gotten this, both sides of this. I've gotten where I'm a hard teacher. His class is hard. And then I've actually had other people say, you need to make a stronger class. I'm like, people, it's a middle ground, right? That's the main thing I teach. I teach the majority of the time a mixed level class. It's kind of hard. It's kind of easy. Some parts are gentle. Some parts are vigorous. That's how it works. It's a balance, right? But the people that have complained, right, that it's too hard, are never the people that drop into child's pose. They don't listen to their body. They let their ego run it. And they might not be able to keep up with other people in the class, and they get intimidated by that, and they feel bad, and they, take it out on the teacher. Well, you're making it too hard for me. You need to drop into child's pose. Right? The job as the teacher is to guide the class. It is your job to do the yoga as the student. Again, we don't make up our own class, right? We don't make up, we don't, so someone says, Chaturanga Dandasana, again, we don't come into forearm stands. I had people do this, right, where I've called out some posture and the next thing I see them inverted and I'm like, I don't know, what are you doing? We don't make up our own class when you're in a group class. But child's pose is part of the class. Child's pose is always available. And any decent teacher will tell you that. Child's pose is always available. I don't care if I have someone who comes to my class and 2/3 of the class they're in child's pose. If that's where they are today, if that's their honest effort, I honor you. If that's your honest effort for the day, I honor you. And you're welcome anytime. That's all I ask is an honest effort. But if you're going to power through, right, the class and not listen to your body and beat yourself up over it, you're not doing yoga. Listen to your body. Take child's pose as needed. Be honest about it. Make sure you're not just dropping into child's pose because you're just like, this is a hard day. I don't want to work that hard. Well, it's up to you how you want to do that. Why would you go to a yoga class in general, a physical and a sauna class, if you're not looking to put in effort? But that's subject for another video. Child's pose is always there. Listen to your body. Don't let your ego run you. Drop into it as you need be. If you're putting an honest effort in your class, then you don't have to worry about it. And your teacher will recognize that. And if they're not the type of teacher that recognizes that, if they're tapping on you going, are you all right? Come on. Are you going to be able to keep up? Find a new teacher. If that's how they teach the class, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that for yoga. Go to an aerobics class. Go to a jazzercise class. You can still get some 80s jazzercise tapes probably on on eBay. Listen to your body. Don't be afraid of child's pose. Take it as needed. Just put an honest effort in your class. And when you need it, don't let that ego run you. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing in the class. Take child's pose, rest, and then come back into the flow. If you learn to do that, you may just thank me for saying it. I've done it many times, and I still do it, and I will continue to do it. That's doing proper yoga. That's listening to your body. That's what yoga's about. So, as always, take from that what serves you. Get rid of the rest, but that doesn't mean take what's comfortable and get rid of what's uncomfortable, because we often need what is uncomfortable to serve us. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.